Hey guys, it's Tyler, aka the Arkansas Podfather, and I wanted to provide a quick disclaimer on the name of the channel. It sounds like it may imply some sort of expertise, and I don't have it. This is a learning experience for me, and I'm using this to document my progress and share that with you guys. So the name was clever, it was available, so snatch it up. I started gardening during the pandemic to give me something to do here in our apartment when there was nothing else to do. As a spicy food and pepper enthusiast anyway, I chose peppers. I thought it would be cool to grow some of my own peppers of the spicier variety. And I got really interested in it, and so my goals have changed a little bit from just growing peppers. So some of the goals that I have for the channel are to document the progress of my plants week to week as far as addressing issues that they have, which are my fault as a new grower. So to document that process, I have an interest in crossing some peppers to breed some new varieties and to distribute those seeds at some point to, at this point, basically anybody who's interested in growing them. I would like to experiment with lacto fermentation and make some homemade hot sauces and share the recipes and share the entire breakdown there. So those are my main goals right now. I would say establishing the pepper crosses is probably at the forefront of that currently. I mentioned we live in an apartment, and that has been my only option for growing peppers is exclusively indoors for the better part of the past year. We don't have a patio or access to an area outside where I could leave the plants. So I have been using a 4x2x6 grow tent with an LED light, which shortly we will be checking out. However, I have recently received access from two very kind individuals to some beds that are not being used. So I have some seeds that are germinating currently that I will be hardening off and starting outdoors. It's a little bit late, but like I said, my ultimate goal is to produce some crosses this season. So, as long as I have time to get that done and harvest a few pods, I would consider that a success. So without any further ado, we're gonna go take a look at the grow tent briefly, and then I'm gonna take the whole family outside and we're gonna take a look at how they're looking, what's going on with them, and what I'm gonna try to do about it. Okay, so here is the tent. It is a 4x2x6. So pretty small, but again, I'm in an apartment, so I'm limited here. That is Ramsey, who has no business here. So yeah, the light I'm using is a budget Bestva. I doubt you can see that. It's an LED light. It is supposed to be the equivalent of a 2,000 watt high intensity discharge light. I don't think so. I think we're probably closer to maybe the equivalent of like maybe a 600 watt light. But it's a good size, and it's a good value, and it does work for what I'm doing here. And the mesh port here with a fan that's blowing air. It keeps the plants moving a little bit. It gives them a little circulation. And I keep this tent open most of the time with the fan going on, the ceiling fan going in the room, just to get as much air as possible. So now I'm going to take these guys outside and we'll take a look at some of the issues I've been dealing with and what I'm going to try to do to solve them this week. Okay, here's everything I've got going on right now. Took them outside to get some better lighting. These were all grown indoors in that tent. This is everybody from inside. So you can see some of the issues that I've had a little better out here. I've had issues with overwatering. Initially I was using exclusively these cloth pots here, which are fine, but indoors they were holding too much moisture. The roots weren't able to breathe, and so I was having a lot of problems with overwatering. So a lot of these guys should be further along than they are, but I've dealt with stunted growth from that, and also from lack of nutrients. You know, this is kind of a learning process for me, so we're just going to learn as we go. But here is the cayenne, and we've got some pods that are ripening there. Some of the pods, some of the first pods kind of shriveled like this at the end. I think that might be from lack of calcium, but we're gonna adjust our nutrients this week and take a look next week and see how we're looking. This one's probably doing the best. This is my orange longtail scorpion pepper. I just transplanted into this double bucket system a couple weeks ago, more like a week and a half ago, from the cloth pots. And also I got this idea, everything I know I'm getting from other growers and breeders from YouTube, probably most notably Kangstar from the Pepper Lovers community, which I'd recommend. Extremely helpful group, a lot of really cool crosses and tips on there, a lot of helpful people in that community. I'll put links down in the description. But I've got my first blooms here. This one really didn't experience much transplant shock. It's only dropped a couple blooms. Overall, it's doing really well. It's a ghost pepper, and I'm gonna try to stick a before picture in here. The big fan leaves, I think we're suffering from some necrosis from overwatering and lack of nutrition. So I topped it about 3 weeks ago. This is all the secondary and undergrowth. I went ahead and took those fan leaves off there. And as soon as this dries out, I'm gonna start a new feeding regimen. Thai super chilies. This one obviously suffering from overwatering. You can tell because of this like crystallized substance here. It's got some edema going on. I actually have a cool picture of that condition under the microscope. I'm going to try to throw in here too. But we've got our first ones ripening here. It's another Thai super chili. I've been picking the blooms from this one just to get it a little bit bigger. But it's got a ton of blooms. Again, about to start a new feeding regimen, so I'll provide an update next week on how everyone's doing. This is my Carolina Reaper, and had the same issue as the ghost pepper. This is all the undergrowth. I cut off all the big fan leaves. I'm gonna let that get dried out and try out some new nutrients. This is my jalapeno, and it's obviously time to water. I understand that you kind of want to let the pepper tell you when it's time to water, so you can see all the leaves are wilted there. They'll pick right back up in the next day, or actually the hours following a watering. So this one's still in the old cloth pot. I don't really have an interest in breeding the jalapeno, so this one will probably not get transferred over. It will probably finish up the season outdoors somewhere. And here is my orange habanero. Now, I topped it. It's also suffered from stunted growth. It's very small. It does have blooms. I'm not gonna pick them off because I'm not really interested in necessarily the size of this, but I just want to collect some pollen from this to use for doing some crosses. So it's okay with me that it fruits at this size. So that's everything that's going on this week. I'm gonna try some new nutrients that I showed you earlier over the next week, and then we'll take another look next week.